Tell us about the second edition. It's in the works now.
Yeah, so the thing that should come out in the next, let's say, 18 months will be a large commentary on the text of the New Testament by Dirk Jonkin. So I'm reading the first draft at the moment on that. And really, we thought, what's the point of replicating what Nestle had already done, which is an apparatus? So the best thing we can do is do something different, namely a commentary based on scribal habit. So there's already Bruce Metzger's commentary, which is more commenting on what a committee decided and a number of different factors that they were thinking about. What Dirk Jonkin's commentary will do, firstly, it will be talking about a lot of different variations or factors than the sort of thing that Bruce Metzger was talking about, but also it's going to be particularly saying this manuscript tends to do this manuscript tends to do that, that's why we're discounting it here. And so that's more the sort of thing that's been going into that. So that will be the next thing, and then that will set us up for the next edition, in which we hope to have nomina sacra, those abbreviations of divine names when they are supported by the manuscripts. We hope to have the abbreviations of numbers where appropriate. We've got two of those, I think, in our edition so far. So the number 666 in Revelation 13:18 is one of those cases where it's just like 3 letters, and that's quite important. Obviously, we're going to give you a footnote so you can actually read it out loud. But to do that more often in the New Testament, particularly the book of Revelation, where you find numbers like 12, iota beta, or 42, mu beta, that's one of the things we're going to be showing. That's the way the early manuscripts do it, although Paul tends to write out his numbers in full. So that's just showing some of that differentiation will be significant.
I enjoy just the reading of this.
Yep.
I use my Nestle Alarm for more critical study, just to be in that world. But if I'm just going to sit and read, I remember when you introduced this at the ETS in 2017, you said something like, this is going to be a children's edition Bible. You know, a pew Bible. So, but it's easy to read. And just a comment about that, you're going to find few technical books where there is not one word that extends to 2 lines. This, no word extends to 2 lines. There's no dash. That is a remarkable feat. I mean,
it's amazing how
it is. It's still,
and the fact it doesn't look like they're having to jig things around.
Want to talk about just time is just at a premium here. Talk about this gets us to New Testament theology a little bit. The ordering of books in this New Testament. This Greek New Testament is different than any other Greek New Testament, and
Westcott and Hall have this.
Okay,
but the manuscripts more often group the Acts and then the Catholic epistles together, and so we're doing that now. We're already used to the fact that the Hebrew Bible order isn't the same as the English Bible order. So I think it's absolutely fine to have a different English Bible order from the original. Now, of course, there isn't one fixed Hebrew Bible order either. So there are usually Hebrew Bibles end with Chronicles, but they can end with Ezra and Nehemiah. There are different varieties there. Now, what you've got to think about is, to what extent are the biblical books ordered at all? Well, the answer is Exodus has to come after Genesis. There's a certain ordering that has to happen, and then there's some ordering which is optional. So what you've got is 2 Corinthians comes after 1 Corinthians. You have some bits of ordering which are compulsory because of the very nature of the material, but there are some which aren't. So if you think of all of these, let's say the Old Testament as originally being scrolls in jars, then the ordering isn't compulsory in every way. There's a lot of ways you can move things around. But at the same time, Genesis has to be first. There's no way you can put anything else at the beginning logically. And so it's just recognizing that there is a combination of compulsory and elective order in the way things are shaped. And that goes back to the canon itself, if you've got time to say this. So when you look at the transition between Judges and Ruth and Samuel, you've got a question. Do you want to put Ruth in the 5 scrolls, the Megillot as they're called, and you can do that along with other books like Lamentations, Ecclesiastes, and so on. But you can, and in sort of Hebrew Bible order, you could have an amazing order in which it begins that, and you've just ended with Proverbs, you've just ended with the woman of virtue, and then we're going to go on to Ruth, and that looks beautiful. But what you can do is, if you think of Judges has its 12-ish judges, then you have these two appendices which take place in the third generation after they come in. You've got Micah's idolatry, Judges 17-18, then you've got the Levite's concubine, 19 through to 21. And both of those stories are connected with Levites, the country of Ephraim, and Benjamin. Bethlehem. They got Bethlehem, and that's really vital. Then we end up, if we put Ruth straight after that, with the story of Ruth, which is focused on Bethlehem. And you can read the Levite's concubine and the non-sex scene in Ruth, which is a non-sex scene. It's a sex scene without sex, right? Because you'll expect, everyone's drunk, they're down at on the grain, woman's coming along at night, you expect the sex, and there isn't, right? That's a beautiful contrast with the Levite's concubine, where it's terrible because you have the noble actions of a man as opposed to all of the terrible actions of a group of men. So I think that it sits really well canonically there, and then Ruth ends with, is it your son is better than you than 10 sons, is it, or 7, I can't remember. But anyway, the first chapter of 1 Samuel is, am I not better to you than 7 sons? Is it that Elkanah says to Hannah when she has no kids? So you get an amazing connection there. And yet, if I were to flow on from Judges through to 1 Samuel, it also works perfectly. So again, you've got this sort of option of so you've got the Hebrew order in which you go Judges 1 Samuel, that works well. Or you've got this order which is in the Greek codices, and therefore is also a Jewish order, where you have Ruth in there. And it will work either way. And it's like there's a certain amount of choice that's been given to arranging in Bible context. So I do believe that God has superintended everything and given us some of these choices. And the key thing when you're looking at things in terms of, say, canon, is to recognise that coherence, the cross references that are running, whichever order you put these in.